My parents always had a knack for surprises, but this one hit like a freight train. I mean, who expects a life-changing gift on a random Tuesday night? It was an ordinary evening in our modest Chicago apartment, the kind where the hum of the city outside blended with the clink of dishes in the sink. I was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through my phone, half listening to my wife, Emily, rant about her boss's latest micromanaging spree. The air smelled of her famous lasagna, still cooling on the counter, and the TV flickered with some forgettable reality show. Life felt comfortably predictable until the doorbell rang. "Who's that?" Emily muttered, wiping her hands on a dish towel. I shrugged, assuming it was a neighbor or a delivery guy with the wrong address. But when I opened the door, there stood my parents, grinning like kids who just pulled off a heist. Mom held a bottle of wine, and Dad clutched a small, meticulously wrapped box tied with a crimson ribbon. "Surprise!" they shouted in unison, their voices echoing down the hall. I froze, my brain scrambling to process why they'd driven 3 hours from their quiet suburb without warning. Emily poked her head out from the kitchen, her curiosity piqued, but her smile hesitant. "Tom, you didn't tell me they were coming," she whispered, nudging me as we ushered them inside. I hadn't known either, but before I could explain, Mom enveloped me in a hug that smelled of lavender and home, and Dad clapped my shoulder hard enough to make me wince. "We couldn't wait," Mom said, her eyes sparkling. "We've got something special for you." She glanced at Dad, who nodded, holding out the box like it was the Holy Grail. My heart did a little flip. My parents weren't the type to show up unannounced, let alone with gifts. The last time they'd surprised me was when I turned 16, and they'd scraped together enough to buy me a beat-up Chevy that I loved more than anything. Emily raised an eyebrow, her arms crossed as she leaned against the doorway. "What's the occasion?" she asked, her tone light but edged with something I couldn't quite place. I caught her eye, but she looked away, busying herself with pouring wine. "No occasion," Dad said, his voice booming with pride. "Just something we've been planning for a while." He handed me the box, and I felt the weight of it, literal and figurative. My parents weren't wealthy. They were retired teachers who lived frugally, so whatever this was, it meant something. I untied the ribbon, my fingers fumbling with excitement. Emily hovered nearby, her curiosity now tinged with a flicker of unease. Inside the box was a sleek, black leather case. I opened it, and my jaw dropped. Nestled in velvet was a vintage Rolex watch, its silver face gleaming under the living room lights. It wasn't just any watch, it was Dad's, the one he'd inherited from his father, who'd worn it through decades of hard work and sacrifice. "Dad, no way," I whispered, my throat tightening. "This is Grandpa's watch. You can't." "I can, and I am," Dad interrupted, his voice firm but warm. "You're our only son, Tom. You've worked so hard, building a life with Emily, staying true to who you are. We wanted you to have something that carries our family story." Mom nodded, tears in her eyes. "It's not just a watch. It's a piece of us, of your grandfather's legacy. We know you'll treasure it." I was floored. The watch wasn't just a gift. It was a symbol of everything my family had endured: immigrant roots, long hours, quiet resilience. I slipped it onto my wrist, feeling its weight, its history. I don't know what to say. I managed, pulling them both into a hug. "Thank you." But then I noticed Emily. She stood frozen, her wineglass untouched, her lips pressed into a thin line. The room's warmth seemed to drain away. "That's beautiful," she said, her voice tight, really special. She turned back to the kitchen, her movement sharp, like she was trying to outrun something. Mom and Dad didn't seem to notice, chatting about the drive and how they'd planned this for months. I followed Emily, my stomach twisting. "Hey, you okay?" I asked, keeping my voice low. She didn't look at me, focusing instead on scrubbing a pan that was already clean. "I'm fine," she said, but her tone was ice. "It's just nice to see you get something so meaningful." The word "you" landed like a dart. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? She set the pan down with a clang. It means your parents showed up out of nowhere with a family heirloom for you. And I'm just here. No mention, no nothing. I'm your wife. Tom, don't I matter to them too? Her words stung, not least because I hadn't seen this coming. Emily and my parents had always gotten along, or so I thought. They'd welcomed her into the family 5 years ago with open arms, hadn't they? But as I stood there, the watch heavy on my wrist, I realized I'd missed something crucial. Emily wasn't just upset about the gift. She felt invisible. It's not like that, I said, reaching for her. They didn't mean to leave you out. This was just a family thing. Wrong choice of word, her eyes flashed. A family thing, so I'm not family. She laughed, but it was sharp, bitter. 5 years. Tom, I've cooked for them, hosted them, sent cards for every holiday, and I'm still not family. I opened my mouth to argue, but the truth was, I didn't know what to say. My parents' gesture had felt so personal, so tied to my grandfather's legacy, that I hadn't stopped to think about how it might look to Emily. I glanced back at the living room, where Mom and Dad were laughing over old stories, oblivious to the storm brewing in the kitchen. The rest of the evening was a tightrope walk. Emily plastered on a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. She asked polite questions, refilled glasses, and played the perfect hostess. But I could feel the distance growing between us. My parents, caught up in their excitement, didn't notice. When they left, promising to visit again soon, I felt like I was standing on a fault line. That night, as we got ready for bed, the silence was deafening. I tried to bridge it. I'm sorry. I didn't know they were coming, and I didn't think. That's the problem, she cut in, her voice low but fierce. You didn't think, and neither did they. Do you know how it feels to stand there, watching you get something so special, while I'm just nothing, like I'm not part of this family? I wanted to fix it, to make her see that it wasn't intentional, but every word felt like it was sinking me deeper. They love you, I said. This was about Grandpa, about passing something down. It wasn't about excluding you. She shook her head, tears brimming. It's not just the watch, Tom. It's everything. They call you. They visit you. They share these big moments with you. I'm always on the sidelines, and you don't even notice. Her words hit harder than I expected. I thought back over the years, family dinners, holidays, the little moments. Had I been blind to how Emily felt? Had my parents, in their love for me, unintentionally pushed her away? I lay awake that night, the watch on my nightstand glinting in the dark. No longer a symbol of pride, but a reminder of the rift I hadn't seen coming. The next morning, I called Mom. I didn't want to sound ungrateful, but I needed answers. Why didn't you get something for Emily too, I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom sounded surprised. Oh, Tom, we didn't think. The watch was your grandfather's, meant for you. We didn't mean to upset Emily. We love her. Then why does it feel like she's not part of this, I pressed. There was a long pause, and I could almost hear Mom's gears turning. We didn't realize, she said finally. We thought she'd understand it was about family history, but maybe we were wrong. That conversation didn't fix everything, but it was a start. I spent the next few days trying to make things right with Emily. I listened, really listened, as she poured out years of feeling like an outsider in my family. She wasn't angry about the watch itself. She was hurt by what it represented, a bond she didn't feel included in. I realized I'd been so caught up in my own joy that I'd missed her pain. I decided to do something. I went back to my parents, not to return the watch, but to ask for their help. Together, we planned a new surprise, not just for Emily, but for us as a family. A week later, we invited Emily to a small dinner at my parents' house. She was wary, still stinging from the previous week, but she agreed to come. When we arrived, Mom pulled her into a hug that lasted longer than usual. Dad handed her a small box, not unlike the one they'd given me. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet, engraved with the date of our wedding. This isn't an heirloom, Mom said, her voice soft, but it's a promise. You're our daughter. Emily, and we want you to know you're part of this family. Always. Emily's eyes welled up, and for the first time in days, she smiled a real, unguarded smile. Thank you, she whispered, slipping the bracelet onto her wrist. It wasn't about the gift. It was about being seen, being valued. That night, as we sat around the table, laughing and sharing stories, I felt the fault line in our family begin to close. It wasn't perfect misunderstandings don't vanish overnight, but it was a step. The watch on my wrist and the bracelet on Emily's felt like twin anchors, grounding us in a shared sense of belonging. But the experience left me with questions. Had I been too quick to accept my parents' gift without considering Emily's feelings? Were they wrong to focus so much on me? Or was Emily's reaction unfair? Maybe it's not about right or wrong, but about how easily love can be misread, how even the best intentions can wound. What do you think? Where does the line fall between honoring tradition and embracing everyone in a family? Share your thoughts, because I'm still figuring this one out.